We all know Dr. Seuss wrote Cat in the Hat, but he also wrote If I Ran the Zoo, the whimsical tale of Gerald McGrew, who would choose what he would do if he ran the zoo. Well, it may be a childhood fantasy, but running a zoo is a very adult job. Hello, I'm Maria Hall Brown, and this is LA Currents. I am delighted to be joined by the CEO and director of the LA Zoo and Botanical Gardens, Denise Verret.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so glad to be here.
I was making a little bit lighthearted about If I Ran the Zoo, but as the director of the zoo, have you received that as a gift?
Yes, I actually got it on my first day from my executive assistant, who said it would be a good tool to help me on my leadership journey.
So what are the main things that would differentiate the zoo of my childhood to the zoo of what is out there now?
Right, so the zoo of your childhood and my childhood was really, animals on exhibit for the public's enjoyment. Today, that has changed dramatically. Zoos, accredited zoos by the Association of Zoos and Aquariums, are focused on conservation and the welfare of the animals entrusted in their care. And welfare is about animals being able to thrive and having the expert staff that can provide them exceptional care. There's also a large part of learning and engagement that goes on. We want the visitors that come through our gates to see our animals, see that they are well cared for, to develop empathy and care about them and see them. They may never be able to have an opportunity to see a zebra or a gorilla in the wild, and to understand the challenges that they face, such as the California condor, which is a global symbol of conservation success that the Los Angeles Zoo had a leadership role in. And so we see ourselves as a community resource, as an organization that is committed to saving animals from extinction.
And speaking of extinction, there have been some really wonderful success stories. I mean, you mentioned the condor. I mean, literally bringing things back from the brink and making sure that they'll be there for multiple generations to come.
Absolutely, and right now with climate change and all of the challenges that are being faced with animals and species around the world, they are going extinct faster than we can save them. So we need to really put an effort and a focus on doing our part. The California condors numbers had dwindled down to 22, literally on the brink of extinction, when the last known condors were brought into human care for a captive breeding program, with the hopes of breeding captive condors and releasing them back into the wild so they can reestablish their population. And now we have over 500 through collective efforts with other partners, and we feel very proud of that success, and we want to replicate that for other species that are facing similar types of threats.
You've been with the zoo for 20 years, but you've been in the position of CEO and director for the last year. Welcome to the world turning upside down.
Yes, I would never have imagined that my first year would include a pandemic, social injustice and racial injustice outcries, and having to really just completely, pivot in how we're doing our work and how we're leading and managing. The zoo closed on March 13th due to the pandemic, and no one is really ever prepared for something like that. But for me, I feel like, effectively managing a crisis is about communicating often and frequently with your staff, being transparent, understanding that you need to be empathetic because this environment is vulnerable and it's changing every day. People are concerned for their own welfare and well-being. And being trusted by the staff that you are leading. And I'm very grateful that the extraordinary staff that I have has been incredibly supportive. They've risen to the challenge and been able to adapt to this ever-changing environment. So while my year began, with great ideas and lots of plans that, I was able to put a few ideas in motion, pretty much everything came to a halt on March 13th. But it's going to be an opportunity for us to reflect and reimagine, because life as we know it is going to change, and not just in the short term, but in the long term. One of the things that we have sort of reflected on during this time is how can we think about our conservation efforts through the lens of social, racial, and environmental justice. We need all communities to care about the work that we're doing. This isn't something that just one group of people should care about. Animals, their environments, we all share together. how can we perhaps engage the juvenile justice system and get them involved in helping us with local conservation efforts? How can we expose minorities to the conservation jobs that are out there and careers at the Los Angeles Zoo that support conservation efforts? How can we better engage? We thought we were doing a good job on equity. You know, we are free to LAUSD schools that come on field trips. We offer scholarships if there are barriers to access to the zoo. But those were programs that we created ourselves that we thought were addressing issues of equity. And what we've realized is that we need to take a step back. We need to take the time to listen, to engage, to reflect, to co-create with communities of color to find out what they want from us. And that's exactly what we're going to do.
Well, you too are a role model because, you know, as an African American woman, you actually were the first in this type of position as well as the first in this large organization. So you have a unique perspective.
Being the first African American director of an AZA accredited zoo is so incredibly humbling, but being the first means that I won't be the last. It means that I represent a symbol of opportunity, and other young Black women can see me and know that this is a role that they too could attain. One of the things that I've always been committed to, and even more so in this role, is giving back. Plenty of people helped me along my way and along my leadership journey, mentored me, and I feel that it's important to do the same in return. Mentoring, coaching, helping people along their own leadership journey, and in particular, young African Americans, so that they can understand what my journey was and help them in the process. And in doing so, I learned something about myself and about others, and I find it incredibly enriching. And I'm committed to doing that, you know, until I leave this job and retire one day.
In a normal year, how many visitors does the zoo get?
1.8 million. We're one of the top 10 paid attractions in the Southern California region.
What's actually happening at the zoo right now? I mean, I would imagine the animal care staff is there and it's probably very quiet and animals are hearing each other that they never heard each other before. So what does it look like in the zoo right now?
Right, so it is very, very quiet. Only the essential staff are reporting to work every day. So that's all of the animal care team, the veterinary team, our construction, grounds, and custodial team. But for the animals and their care, nothing has really changed. We haven't had any impacts in terms of staffing. We're very grateful and thankful that the city is supporting us while we're closed. We still have animals breeding and births, and animals continue to thrive. We had a baby gorilla for the first time in 20 years earlier in January, Angela. She's growing and she's got teeth now and she's eating, you know, solid food, and mama's letting her, you know, get down and sort of explore on her own. So animals are still thriving at the Los Angeles Zoo even during the pandemic. And so it's interesting that while there's the absence of visitors, they're still exhibiting all the behaviors and still thriving in the ways that we want them to.
I imagine a lot more interaction with a lot of the staff and the animals, and have an opportunity to maybe learn some things during this period in time. Well, if people are interested in learning when the zoo will open, how they can enjoy the zoo and all of the things that are in plan, or even how that I would imagine you're looking for volunteers on certain occasions and things like that. You know, how can they find out all the information and how updated is it?
Right, so they should definitely go to our website, www.lazoo.org, and we have a whole section devoted to COVID-19, and we will have a whole section developed for our reopening plan that will let everyone know what the experience is going to be like when they return. We're going to have a video. You can follow us on our social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're sharing information on a regular basis, lots of virtual content that keeps all of our visitors, members, and supporters updated on what's going on at the zoo and when they can expect us to open our gates and welcome them back.
Wow, this sounds absolutely amazing, and I'm sure you're very happy that your parents took you to the zoo when you were a young woman, something that resonated with you.
Absolutely, and my adult children today, which are 21 and 23, still enjoy coming to the zoo, even as adults, young adults, and so the legacy continues, and I hope that it will for all of our residents in the great city of Los Angeles.
This has been fascinating, and I really appreciate your time, and best of everything, and I can't wait to get out there when I'm legally allowed to do so.
We'll be so glad to have you, and thank you so much for this opportunity.
Absolutely, Denise. You take care. And that's a wrap on this very wild LA Current.